session.
Yeah, so mute. Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. So I'm really happy to be back with Authentic. So it's been a while. It's been a great to do a FICA for Authentic. So I hope everyone is having a good day today. So let's talk about GitHub Copilot and how we can use GitHub for Copilot for our daily work, right? So yeah, let's get started. And I want to let you know that if you have any questions, you can raise your hand and ask the questions. So you can ask questions at the end as well. It's up to you. Okay. Yeah, so the today's session will be mainly focusing on GitHub Copilot and how GitHub Copilot can transfer your developers' productivity, how we can use GitHub Copilot for your daily, day-to-day works, right? So, and how we can benefit from it as a developer or DevOps engineer or anyone who is in the tech industry, right? Okay, little about me uh, as you see, as you heard from the introduction, I'm a Microsoft MVP for Azure. This is my fifth year, fifth year, yeah, of MVP in Azure, and I'm Docker captain as well. And I have done many certifications in Kubernetes, Azure, and GitHub as well. And I work as a senior consultant at Avanade, Netherlands. So I'm currently living in Netherlands. So yeah, it's a sunny day today. That's good. Yeah. And I have over 10 years of experience in cloud and DevOps. Right. So if you like to connect with me, you can see my LinkedIn URL. And I'm happy to connect with anyone who is interested in tech. Yeah. Okay, so before I start, I think a lot of people are already aware about GitHub Copilot, right? So because GitHub Copilot is a tool that Revisional has been around for many years now. It has evolved every year and it has many capabilities added throughout those years, right? So I think many people, many who are working with software engineering or any other fields has used this type of AI agent at the moment. So you have ChatGPT and other AI agents and GitHub Copilot, and there are some other tools that are and other AI agents are more specialized in software development and um, tech industry, right? So GitHub Copilot, what is it? Actually, it's like a AI pair programmer. So that means you can interact with the GitHub Copilot by giving instructions and asking questions, that kind of thing. So it's like your a friend and a colleague who can help you when you want to develop your products or solutions or troubleshoot. So GitHub Copilot has options to do code suggestions, then perform tests, create tests, and documentation, and as well as many more other options that we will talk about today. So GitHub Copilot has supported for many popular IDEs, right? So if you are using VS Code, Visual Studio, then JetBrains, and if you are using GitHub, GitHub VS Code Spaces, those kind of tools also supported with GitHub Copilot. You have to have the extension installed in your environment. And now GitHub Copilot also supporting in the CLI as well. We will discuss and show you how it's going to work. Okay, little bit history about GitHub Copilot. So it's a product from GitHub. I think anyone familiar with GitHub knows it is a code repository, and you can host your code on GitHub, right? Uh, GitHub Copilot powered by many models, right? So it started with OpenAI GPT, but it evolved to support many um language models, right? So as you can see in this diagram, it support from ChatGPT, OpenAI, then Google Gemini, then Anthropic Cloud. Then you have others as well, like some in preview. So there are others like Xcore, XAI, those kind of things also supported, right? Um, and over the years, GitHub Copilot evolved from auto-completion tool to chat-driven AI. That means in the beginning, it'll only do suggestions for your codes, right? So when if you want to write a function or bicep template or infrastructure code template, it will suggest you the next code completions, right? But now it is beyond that, and it's more feature rich, right? Okay. So when you talk about core features in GitHub Copilot, one method of interacting with GitHub Copilot is the chat. So chat is actually it's a way of interacting with the AI agent through the natural language. Natural language, so that means whatever you type through the your uh, to the chat, then it will interpret as the requirement, and it will interact with you in a normal language, right? So you can do like different things like explain, then refactoring, debugging code, or if you want to fix something, troubleshooting. So those kind of things can be done to the GitHub Copilot chat. So in the demo next I will show you a demo. In that demo, I will show you different methods that you can use GitHub Copilot chat, and where you can use those GitHub Copilot chat. And has a context aware conversations. That means GitHub Copilot chat can go through the entire chat history, and you can attach files, or if you want to review the folder structure files and the workspace, then GitHub Copilot can do it as well. And even GitHub Copilot can read the terminals. So then if you execute some command, then GitHub Copilot chat can view that output from the terminal and interact based on that, right? Okay, so let's do a small demo and see how we can use GitHub Copilot chat, right? Okay. So here I have my VS Code open, right? So I have a repository here. So this is a demo repository I have created for this session, right? So you have many folders here, right? So let's try to ask from GitHub Copilot a few things, right? So in the chat option here, you have many options, like you can do planning, ask, or agent, right? So planning means you can tell if you want to let's say you have to do a migration or something like that, or refactoring some code, right? Then from the planning session, plan option, you can tell, build me a plan for this specific migration kind of a thing. Then GitHub Copilot can do it for you, right? Then asking means if you have some questions, then if you want to get some context about it, then you can use the ask option, right? But in the ask, they cannot do any changes into the files, right? Just giving you a instructions or suggestions that your context, right? But the powerful one is the agent mode. Agent mode is actually can do changes and it can create files, or you can do many things within the repository or the context, right? So if you want to do some kind of uh, troubleshooting, or if you want to ask questions, so I will select ask. Then here I can find the models, right? So here if you can go to manage models, you can see there are many models are available, right, within GitHub Copilot. So I will select the uh, Cloud Opus 4.6, right? Then, for example, in my case, I need to create a case cluster using Bicep, right? But I want to I want to create that based on the Azure landing zones, or kind of cloud adoption framework, right? So these kind of standards there. So if I want to create a cluster on based on that, and I can ask from GitHub Copilot to help on me that, right? So I can say I want to create a case cluster for an enterprise, which is private cluster, and can you suggest me by referring to CAF and Azure landing zone. Right. So if I enter, yeah, there are spelling mistake. Yeah, but then what you can see is it will go to the Azure MCP, right? So you can see it will connect with Azure extension, right? So then it will run, go through the documentation and other reference architectures, which is available in Azure, and it will give you a suggestion. This is how you need to proceed, right? Okay, until that's happening, because sometimes it will take a few minutes or anything like that. So we will wait. We will do another one, right? So another option in GitHub Copilot chat is you can use this chat option in the sidebar, as well as you can use the inline chat as well, right? For example, if I come here, right, then if I come here, then if I right click here, then if you go to the options, then you can see it's a option called open inline chat, right? So then in the inline chat, you can specify what do you need to do, right? So here I have like a comments, right? Creating what I need from this file, right? So then these are the ways we can create some resources, right? So you can tell the GitHub Copilot to go through these comments and create the resources that you needed, right? So what I can do is I will select one. Then I can tell review, read the comments on this file and create the okay. So I have mentioned what I need, right? So you can see, right? It will go into work. So by the GitHub Copilot is starting to uh, create the resources based on the comments in the file, right? So it will generate everything related to these comments. So here you can see I need a storage account with this SKUs, kind, and TLS versions and HTTP traffic only. So if you go to the storage account, right? So you can see that if you go to the storage account, you can see that it has created the storage account based on my comments, right? So that's another option way of creating the files, right? This is taking some time, but this is a way of doing through the GitHub Copilot chat, right? Okay. And okay. So another way of interacting with GitHub Copilot is to do troubleshootings, right? So for example, you can see there's an error message here, right? So we will try to ask from GitHub Copilot why it's happening, right? So in here, you can use the ask mode or agent mode. If you select the agent mode, GitHub Copilot will go and do the changes for needed, right? So I will add the file here. So here you can see you can add different files, folders, that kind of things, right? Then GitHub can Copilot can get the context of it, right? So I will tell /fix workspace fix, yeah. And you identify by the error in the main.bicep and apply the fix for it. Okay. So you can see that it will refer 3 files, right? So I will talk about this GitHub instruction later, right? So then it will show you what is the plan, what is happened. So you can see it has a duplication of the target scope for bicep, right? So then it will show you the correct one. Then it will say that what this is the root cause that has happened, right? Okay. So I will take, can you remove it and fix the error? So sometimes what will happen is with the working with AI agent is it will not doing it the first time, but you need to reiterate and tell the agent. So this is the happening. This is what you need to do, right? So here you can see that Now it's review the file and plan the duplicate section. Then it will read the main.bicep file. Then it will go and edit the entire file, right? Okay, so what then you can do is keep the changes or undo the change, right? So I will keep the change, right? Okay. Likewise, there are some other options as well, right? Explain, right? So for example, yeah, explain can do if you want to explain some file that you are not familiar with, then you can use explain. I will show it on the later. Yeah. So the next one is actually how next way of interacting with GitHub Copilot is the Copilot CLI, right? So GitHub Copilot CLI is a terminal, right? So it's a command line terminal. So you can use it for command explanations. Then if you want to do ops tasks or scripting, those kind of things, you can use GitHub Copilot. So let's see how we can use the GitHub Copilot, right? So here you can see I'm in the same folder. So if I type GitHub Copilot, but we have to install the GitHub Copilot CLI first, right? Then if you have GitHub CLI, then you can, if you update it to the newest version, you will get the GitHub Copilot CLI as well. So if you have to go to the for your repository or what the folder you need to work with, then type GitHub Copilot, right? Then GitHub Copilot will open, right? So if it is the first time that GitHub Copilot is running, then it will ask the permission to trust the repository or the folder. Then if you put yes, then it will start up as this, right? So in the GitHub Copilot, so CLI also has different options, right? So for example, if you want to um, change the model, right? So you can do it as well, right? Model, then the model name, right? Then you have the option of adding changing directories. Then the agent check whether what agents do you have, right? Then you can do MCPs, that means manage MCP configurations, right? Then you have the plan option as well. So for this demo, I will show you how we can do a plan from the GitHub Copilot CLI. Then I need apply that plan into the repository, right? So I will use a plan, right? Then I can tell the GitHub Copilot I want to create a Azure Application Gateway that connects to VNet. And create a virtual machine which connect as a backend for the Azure Application Gateway. refer the landing zone. And yeah. So I'm asking from GitHub Copilot CLI to provide me a plan for this one. So it will go into think, right? So okay, so it will go through the existing file structures, right? So then it will read those things, right? So you can see it is exploring the patterns, right? So it will check if there are any instructions for GitHub Copilot. So I will tell about that later, right? Or we can give specific instructions to Copilot, right? So it is analyzing the structure, right? Okay. So then it will ask you how we should proceed next, right? So here you can see it is telling me we can create there are a few options. So create a new folder, it's a recommend one, add existing to the existing folder, or create a different custom location, or you can type your own answer, right? So I will select the first option, right? So create a separate folder, right? Okay. Then it will ask what type of SKU do you need for your application gateway. So I will go with the standard V2, right? Because these things are missing in my context, so I didn't mention in my context these things has to be included. So that's why GitHub Copilot asks me different questions, right, to identify the exact requirement I need. So it's a very good, right? So if you miss some context, even GitHub Copilot will try to get the most important things, right? So here you can see how many backend VMs do you need, single VM or two VMs with availability set, or do you need a VM scale set? Those are good things, right? So if you want high availability, those kind of things you can see, you can decide on that, right? So for this, I will use the single VM, right? So it will ask what are you going to run on these VMs, right? It is IaaS or Nginx, right? Or the custom application. So I will tell web server, right? Then it ask you what is you're going to do, Linux or Windows. So yeah, I will select Linux, right? Yeah. So it asks what type of module structure do you need, because in Bicep you can create a different modules and you can reuse that modules. Do you want to follow the same structure as the uh, previous folder like Bicep? Yeah. So those questions are very important when you are doing this type of things, right? So now you can see that GitHub Copilot is saying, I have all the information needed. Let me create an implementation plan for you. So you can see it is creating to-do list, right? So you can, if you go to this location, right? Yeah, then your to-do list will be open. So this is a entire structure, right? So if you go to this MD file, right? So GitHub Copilot plan everything for me. So implementing application gateway, the backend. So it will add the diagram, then the file structure. So what you have to do for first, these type of things are very good for your prototyping or you want to do some implementations, right? Okay, now you can see that it is saying, yeah, now the plan is ready. So what do you need to do, right? So you can do is you can accept the plan and tell to build on autopilot mode, right? So that means it will go and create a requirement, the files, everything for you, right? Then you can accept the plan and build on default permissions, or exit the plan and you can give your own suggestions, right? So I will go with the complete automation, right? Yeah, this will take some time, right? Yeah, we'll continue, but we can come back and check on this one, right? Okay, so let's talk about some real world use cases. So yeah, GitHub Copilot is really good for rapid prototyping. So if you want to generate some test, right, it's really good for test generation. So for example, in my usage, I'm using it for creating bicep testing codes, and it's very important to test the bicep infrastructure code as you had deployed before deploying. You need to test these things, so you can create very good test files for infrastructure code as well. And legacy code understanding also very important. So if you have some codes that you don't understand, or if those are very legacy codes, you can ask from GitHub Copilot saying, hey, can you explain this? What is the logic happening? What is exactly happening here? That kind of thing. And GitHub Copilot is really, really good for documentation as well. So it can create very good documentation for you. So I will show you some documentations I have created. Okay. Does anyone ask a question? Yeah. Okay, so I will show you another way of rapid prototyping. So how can do it? So another way of accessing GitHub Copilot is in the portal, right? So if you go to your repository and if you have the GitHub Copilot license, right, there's a mode called agent mode, right? So in this agent mode, what you can do is it's a similar way, right? So you can uh, describe what you want, right? So then I will select the uh, model I need, right? So let's take, I need to create a AKS cluster with private AKS cluster, which is in the VNet, and um, secure the AKS cluster for enterprise level, right? So I can tell uh, it private access and connect to the word VNet virtual network, and restrict access to the API server, and use Bastion host to connect to the cluster, right? Okay, so this is my requirement, right? So you can say refer the CAF and landing zone for Azure. Then I can click start the task, right? So then it will go through my prompt, then it will create then the GitHub Copilot agent will start to work on you, right? So it's a way of you can build the entire structure, right, from this agent in the portal as well, right? So what will happen is it will go to it will implement the things that are required for the GitHub Copilot, right? For example, this connect to the MCP servers, right, to get the informations, right? Then it log in, explore the existing repository, right? Then it will explore the files, right? Okay. Then it will create a summary, right? Okay. So this will take some time, right? But I have a already created one for you to show, right? So what will happen is here it will go through the everything and it will create the PR for you, and you can review the PR and you can check the changes, everything, and you can use GitHub Copilot to review the changes as well, right? For example, here if I go to PR, so I have a, so you can see the PR has created for the current the requirement I have mentioned here, right? So this is a PR I already created for you to show them, right? So it will create the PR from the GitHub Copilot. Then it will give you all the information. Then you can assign GitHub Copilot to do some code reviews as well. So let's do like this. So for example, I will go to this and mark is at ready to review, right? Then you can see that immediately GitHub Copilot will start to do the reviewing the code for me, right? So then you can see GitHub Copilot is automatic review is starting, right? So if you uh, click here, you can see we need to wait until the GitHub Copilot is reviewing, right? Yeah. So you can view the session, how the reviewing happened, right? So it will do the review as well. Okay, so I will show you another one that these reviews are happens, right? For example, this is my demo environment for a case, right? So to be honest, I built my entire demo environment with GitHub Copilot, right? Without, I think I didn't write many code, right? So everything is done from the GitHub Copilot, right? So this example how I do prototyping, right? So you can see it will build the initial plans, right? Then when I approve this as a ready to review, then GitHub Copilot will review it and it will suggest you need to change these. These are my suggestions, right? You have to think about these changes, right? Then if you already agree with these changes, or you can tell the implement the suggestions, right, to individual change, or what you can do is you can go to the top and implement all the suggestions, right? Then GitHub Copilot will go again and do the changes for you. For example, here you can see I have asked from GitHub Copilot to do the review change. Yeah, but I can't see it. I think it's already closed, right? Yeah. So then it will go and do the changes as well, right? Then you can see the file changes, everything will be shown, right? So you can do the review process as well. So this is very good for your prototyping as well, and as well as it is a way of pair programming for you as a pair program, right? So this is what I explained to you as well, the Copilot as your pair programmer. So you can use GitHub Copilot to do a PR reviews, and you can use the agents to build the solution for you as well. And another good thing about GitHub Copilot is you can build your custom agents as well. So let's take a look at how we can build the custom agents for you, right? So what you can do is, if you want to build your own custom agents, right, GitHub has the option, right? So here I have already created a custom agent for GitHub Copilot for Terraform, right? This is pretty mistake, right? But in here you can say what is this agent for and what tools that the agent can be used, the model, and you can give the instructions to that agent. These are the things you can do, right? So these are the languaging tools, right? The naming conventions that agent should follow based on the cloud adoption framework, right? Then the folder structure you should follow for provision, creating Terraform code, right? Then how the variables should be described, how the locals, resources, modules, outputs, and state management. These things you can specify for the GitHub Copilot. And you can specify security requirements as well, saying these are mandatory. You need to follow these security requirements when you are suggesting things. So likewise, you can add many instructions here. So the GitHub Copilot will follow these instructions uh, for you based on the yeah. So if you want to use these custom agents, right, it's very easy. So you can create a MD file, right, in GitHub.GitHub agents folder, right? Then you can use your custom agents in the portal, right? So you can see this is my custom agent. So these agents are also there. These are come from different extensions in the VS Code, like this. There are some extensions specifically for infrastructure as code, but this is my custom agent, right? So I can select the custom agent, then the model, right? Then I can specify the creator storage account from Terraform to and follow the best practices for security. Okay. Then here in the context, you can see that it is following GitHub instructions. GitHub instructions also a way of giving different instructions for your GitHub Copilot. So you can specify that instruction file here. So it also contains instructions that GitHub Copilot should follow, right? So yeah. Then it will go and get the Terraform production grade Terraform files, then start to create the Terraform for you. So you can see it will build their own to-do list, right? So they need to follow this to-do list to interact. Yeah. So it's creating things, right? Yeah, so that's the small demo how we can use custom agents. So yeah, you can build your own custom agents as you like, right? Yeah, some best practices when we are working with GitHub Copilot, right? So it's always good to review the AI code. Like, yeah, even the AI has built the code, it's recommended to review the code by a human, as a human, right? So always check everything is good, because what I noticed was sometimes the suggestions are not accurate, right? So because of that, you cannot always rely on agents like this. So you should know the how it works, and you should have knowledge to understand the code and understand the concepts. Then you can uh, drive the AI agent to follow these uh, patterns or the best practices, right? So that's what I noticed. So for example, if I creating some infrastructure code, you, most sometimes it will give you a wrong uh, very wrong practices, right? Then I'm telling the GitHub Copilot, this is not the correct way. I see this is wrong. Then the GitHub Copilot will identify it and say, yeah, it is wrong. So you are giving a good input like that. Then it will correct those things. So you have to always have to instruct what do you need exactly. So because of that, you need to know how the code is working in and out, right? And it's important to write clear prompts and comments, so then GitHub Copilot can use those comments and prompts very efficiently, right? So, and use linters test for mm, your codes or your infrastructure codes, because if even GitHub Copilot can give you the good code, but it's always better to test them before you deploy. And include the GitHub Copilot instruction page. That is very important, right? So that if you are if you want to govern how the GitHub Copilot should work, then these GitHub Copilot instructions are very important. You can have multiple instruction page, right? So you can create it under the GitHub folder, not GitHub folder. Then these instruction will take into consideration before suggesting things to you, right? Team adoption and standards. So if your organization need to implement GitHub Copilot or the AI tools, it always uh, important to include user guidelines or governance policies, and always keep the code review mandatory. So that means even a GitHub Copilot is reviewing it, you as a human, you need to review it as well. It should be mandatory. And you should focus on maintainability, right? So sometimes GitHub Copilot will give you some complex things like that, but you have to decide this is, is it the best way to do it, or is there any easier or like a good way that we can do than using the suggested one, right? And governance also very important. So if you are an organization, right, like keep, governance are important because you shouldn't expose your code to public, right? Because of that, if the GitHub has the enterprise option, in enterprise, you can follow AI controls. In the Copilot specifically, you can specify what organizations in the enterprise, GitHub Enterprise, can use GitHub Copilot license, and you can do context exclusions. That means you can specify that these repository, these files are restricted from GitHub Copilot to review, right? Those things are very important because there are some proprietary codes that you shouldn't use, right? Then you can specify which models do you need to use, right, in the enterprise level. Then privacy-wise is you can enable whether GitHub Copilot can go to the public repos, public codes, and give code suggestions. Those type of things. There are many rules in GitHub Enterprise for governance. So when you are working with uh, organizations, you need to think about these governance very seriously, right? Yeah. So when you talk about the productivity, so yeah, so it will help you to code very fastly, right? So that means in the past, if it take one or 2 days with the Copilot, you can do it within few hours, right? So it is a good advantage. And as a developer, you can focus on designing and building the logic. So GitHub Copilot can help you to find uh, resources, documentations, and uh, best practices and code suggestions and those kind of things. So you don't want to spend a lot of time doing researches and other things. You can take Copilot for your advantage, right? Yeah. So that's all for this. I think if you have any questions, you can ask me, right?
Thank you, Kasun, for that session.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, you can drop it in the chat or you can raise your hand so I can unmute you.
Looks like there's a hand.
Yeah. Keshan, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, Azun, it's Kishan here. So,
Hi.
in the Git, hi, in the
After all.
Copilot chat, I said, so in the Copilot chat, I said there's this add context button. So
Yeah.
what I want to know is that if you don't add any specific context, would it analyze the entire code base to answer your query, or how does it happen?
Yeah, usually it will go through the entire code base, right? That means um, it will look into the patterns that you already have, right? To understand the context, right? So those kind of things. Or you can use add at workspace, right? So then if you put at workspace, it will take entire workspace as a context for your suggestions. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of extension of the same question. So let's say we ask a query and we add, let's say, 3 files as the context.
Yeah.
But in reality, you actually need 4 files as the context. So we have missed to add 1 file to the context. So
Yeah.
in that case, when Copilot answer your query, would it analyze only the 3 files that you have added as context, or it would still consider, what are the other possible what are the other needed information that it need to answer your question?
Yeah, usually if you add the files, then it will take that as the context, right? But then your answer would be based on that context only, right? So let's assume you miss something, then I think Copa, I didn't try that one. That's a good thing, right? But what I saw in the what when I'm working is that it will give you the answer based on the files that you added to the context, right? But if missing something, then it maybe ask you questions like this is how you have to do it, or this place is missing, likewise. So if you see that in my this example, right, so I miss some context in the my explanation, right, what I want, right.
Yeah.
Then GitHub Copilot will ask you multiple questions, right. So what do you need, like, kind of thing, right. So that's way it is working like that way. So it will, can ask questions from you, um, like, if I'm going this way, then I need to have this type of 5 examples, like that. Then you can add those things in the when you are doing the conversation.
All right. Got it, Kasun. Thank you very much.
Okay. Oops.
Anybody, any other questions? You can drop it in the chat if there's anything. Or you can also unmute yourself and ask the question. I guess there's no questions. Kasun, thank you
Yeah.
so much for doing the session. And thank you everyone for attending today's Fika session. And this recording will be available in YouTube next week. So please do make sure to follow us and keep yourself updated on our next speaker. Thank you everyone for joining, and see you next time.
Bye.
Thank
See
you,
you.
Kasun. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.